In the depths of night, phone ringing breaks the serene silence. Brianna Warlan, nestled in the coziness of her bed, was startled awake by the sound. The gentle glow of the digital clock on her bedside table indicated 1:45 a.m., an unholy hour for anyone to call. The number flashing across the screen seemed recognizable. It was Heather, her dearest friend since kindergarten. Brianna and Heather had a closeness that felt more like sisterhood than friendship. They traversed the stormy seas of youth together, celebrated their achievements, and helped each other at hard moments. Tonight looked to be one of those times when Heather needed her. Heather's crying voice resounded through the night's silence. Welcome to True Crime. Let's get started. It was about Sydney, her ex-lover. Sydney, who had left Heather for another woman, had called her late at night. His voice, which was normally confident and carefree, was full of regret. He said he was wrong, that he had ended his marriage, and additionally, that he wanted Heather back in his life. Brianna, half awake and failing to grasp the gravity of the situation, offered words of reassurance. She knew Heather was vulnerable, and her heart wanted to believe Sydney. Brianna wondered why Heather had even answered his call. It found out that the number was unknown, prompting Heather to call after hearing and briefly soothing her companion down. Brianna emphasized that Heather had only recently overcome the difficulties of their breakup and should avoid becoming connected with Sydney again. She convinced Heather to return to sleep and rest, and they exchanged goodbyes. As Brianna hung up the phone, she had no idea at the time that this phone call was only the beginning of a terrifying series of events. This disturbing call set the stage for a story that would expose a monstrous family. Horry County, South Carolina, is widely regarded as a wonderful area to live. This region is well known for its gorgeous beaches, with Myrtle Beach being particularly stunning and popular. Aside from the beaches, there are lush forests, vast rivers, and numerous welcoming communities to explore. On December 19th, Horry County Police discovered an abandoned car, a green Dodge Intrepid, parked in an isolated and remote location along the Waccamaw River. Peachtree Landing was approximately 8 miles from Myrtle Beach. This location served as a dock for small boats and was at the end of a long, lesser-known road that was rarely traveled by cars. The police examined the car's registration in their system and discovered that it was registered to Terry. Terry was watching TV on his living room sofa when they knocked on his door to alert him about the discovered automobile. It turned out that the car belonged to his daughter Heather. Terry attempted to contact Heather via phone, but she was unavailable. He agreed to join the police at Peachtree Landing for further investigation. Terry was shocked to see his daughter's automobile in such an odd, secluded spot, but he was not too concerned about her. He suspected the car had been stolen because it was strange that it was there without its owner. Terry provided the police with a spare key, and they unlocked and thoroughly investigated the car. They discovered no personal belongings in the cabin. Terry's uneasiness intensified, so he attempted to call Heather again. Still waiting for an answer, he contacted the restaurant where she worked. Heather had not turned up for work, according to the manager, and she was not scheduled until the next day. Terry alerted the police about his worries after realizing there had been a mistake. At the time, the car and the riverbank where it was discovered were not deemed crime scenes. Nonetheless, authorities opted to conduct a missing persons inquiry. Police and volunteers scoured the terrain, while divers investigated the riverbank. During the search, human remains were discovered in the forest, but they were recognized as belonging to an unknown male rather than the missing woman. Heather, 20, was the daughter of Terry and Brianna, who lived in the county. She shared a close bond with her parents and younger sister. Heather's father mentioned that their family was always close and supportive of one another. Heather was independent, yet she remained close to her father, corresponding with him via phone every day. Heather told her family in 2011, after graduating from St. James High School, that she wanted to live with her best friend, Brianna Warlan. Her parents were entirely supportive of this decision. Heather was 20 years old when she started working as a server and dreamed of becoming a cosmetologist. Heather was also well known in her town for her kindness, easygoing attitude, and cheerful outlook. Heather was working the day shift at a crowded restaurant one sunny June afternoon. While speaking with customers, taking orders, and carrying trays into the kitchen, she came upon Sydney Moore, a 37-year-old father of 3 smart men. Sydney owned a small kitchen appliance repair business in Myrtle Beach and received an order from the restaurant that day. They began a discussion, and Heather was instantly drawn to the man. Their interactions increased after that day, but Sydney's seemingly average family was far from ordinary. Sydney's family, the Johnsons, appeared to be the classic suburban family, but behind closed doors, the story took a terrible turn. Sydney's father, an abusive man, was the patriarch of the Johnson clan. He worked a typical 9-to-5 job at the local bank. However, his co-workers knew nothing about his personal life outside of the business. This stillness, which was initially misinterpreted as normal introversion, was a mask that concealed his heinous tastes. Sydney Sydney's mother, on the other hand, had several faces. She was a social butterfly who was always well-liked at neighborhood events, but her lovely exterior reflected a darker side. She was obsessed with taxidermy and filled their home with a dark collection of preserved animals, a somewhat frightening hobby. Then there were Sydney's siblings, who were inseparable. They had a strange bond, frequently finishing each other's statements and exhibiting unusual harmony. Their passion with insects, specifically spiders, added to the family's uniqueness. Sydney stood at the center of this strange family, divided between his feelings for Heather and his family's horrible past. Not alone did their odd interests point to their terrible character. The Johnsons were notorious for keeping to themselves, rarely interacting with people until absolutely necessary. Their windows were always closed down, and the home remained strangely quiet, as if it was holding its breath, concealing something horrible within its walls. Under the surface appearance of this average household, a terrifying secret awaited detection. The confession Sydney made to Heather was only the beginning. Heather dug deeper, and the horrible reality started to surface. Heather began investigating Sydney's family. She began with Sydney's mother, a seemingly nice and innocent woman. Heather discovered a terrible past beneath the outward appearance of an ordinary suburban mother. Sydney's mother had previously been tied to a number of unsolved crimes, including horrific fire incidents that had destroyed entire neighborhoods. Moving on to Sydney's father, Heather discovered a man who enjoys taking advantage of others. A once respected psychiatrist had his license revoked due to charges of unethical activities. It was said that he used his position to influence his patients, trapping them in a web of lies and abuse. Heather's investigation eventually led her to Sydney's siblings. His older brother, a once promising athlete, had his career ended unexpectedly due to a doping scandal. His younger sister, on the other hand, had an enviable track record in the dark corners of the internet, due to her involvement in cybercrime and hacking incidents. Heather dug deeper and discovered a line of unsettling coincidences connecting Sydney's family to a number of unexplained disappearances in their hometown. She noticed an ongoing pattern, a terrifying pattern pointing to a family that thrived on disorder and disaster. They were not only symbolic monsters. The family mom, a sweet-looking woman with beautiful eyes and a kind smile, was the brains of an illegal drug operation. She twisted her own children, including Sydney, to carry out her terrible actions. The father, a silent partner, turned a blind eye to their crimes. The neighborhood was stunned when the horrific facts were made public. They had been unknowingly surviving with a monster family. The result was massive. Friends became strangers, and confidence broke down. The monster family had brilliantly built a web of deception that trapped a whole town. The monster family was honest, and they lived among us, but they refused to let this define them. The man she once loved was becoming a stranger in front of her eyes, a stranger whose history was as dark as the secrets his family kept. The culmination of this story, the horrible truth about Sydney's family, is not what you would expect from a typical horror film. This was the reality, a disturbing story about a family that lived in the shadows of the ordinary, a story that depicts a family that had an unbreakable connection to the structure of crime, a family that relished the thrill of the unknown, and a family that was everything but average. For those who had known Sydney, the man they believed they knew was vastly different from the monster he was shown to be. Now this is the end of this video. Our thoughts and prayers go out to those involved. We hope you enjoyed our true crime overview of the creepy family of monsters. Be sure to be a true crime subscriber and hit the bell icon to never miss another true crime video. Leave a comment and a like to show your support. Until next time, stay safe, and if you have a true crime story you would love to see, please be sure to leave in the comments below. We look forward to seeing you in our next video.